The Royals finished off the sweep against the Pittsburgh Pirates. New York Mets coming to town this weekend. And on the other side, back half of the show, good friend Jared Perkins is going to be here to talk about the MLB draft that's happening on Sunday and who the Royals might take at pick number 23 and maybe beyond. We'll talk about that live right now on One Royal Way. We're back at it here on Kansas City Sports Network. I'm Joel Penfield. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We are live on YouTube on a Thursday night, as always. Cheers to everyone that is hanging out here on YouTube. Cheers to everyone that watches this after the fact as well. Be sure to like, rate, subscribe, review, hit those notification bells on all platforms so you know when these episodes go up. And I appreciate everyone that has supported this show and the growth that we've had this season, doing 3 episodes a week, y'all. Love it. You've supported it. It's been awesome, so it makes it worthwhile for me. So thank you very much. We'll recap the game against the Pittsburgh Pirates. We'll talk about the probables and a little bit about the Mets series here at the front part of the show. After the commercial break, Jared Perkins from Just Baseball Media, the On the Clock podcast, who you've heard on this show before, he's going to be here. He covers college and the draft extensively, so he is aware of all these guys that the Royals could take at pick 23 and pick 28. The Royals have a bunch of picks in the first couple of rounds, so they're able to make the team better, make the farm system better with some of these picks. It just looks a little different this year because they're not picking in the top 10 for the first time in 7-8 years. So it looks a little bit different this year. It's why I haven't covered it as closely, because it's really hard to predict out what the draft is going to look like when you get into the 20s. But Jared is very well versed in this, so I'm excited to hear what he has to say. This show, as always, brought to you by Emprise Bank, member FDIC, our partners in Possible here at Kansas City Sports Network and on the One Royal Way podcast. We can't thank them enough for all of that. Royals win another game 4-3 on Wednesday night, beating the Pittsburgh Pirates, sweeping them out of town. The Royals won 8 of their last 12, playing really well right now since that Saturday game against the Dodgers when they broke the losing streak. Seems like they've turned a corner a little bit here. This game really centers around, obviously, the home runs, because that's how the Royals got all 4 of their runs, 2 Salvador Perez homers and a Jac Caglianone homer. We'll talk about those in a minute. I do want to start with Kris Bubic, who I thought through 5 pitched really well. He hadn't given up a run. He scattered a few hits. The command wasn't great, but he was inducing a fair amount of weak contact. Got hit hard a couple of times. It really didn't kill him. There was a lot of singles. But the 6th inning unraveled on him a little bit. In a way that we really haven't seen from him, at points throughout this season. It's a leadoff single, a walk, and a single, and it's bases loaded, nobody out before you can blink. You get the pop fly from Nick Gonzalez, 1 out, and okay, ground ball, double play. Oneil Cruz is fast, but if you get him to hit it on the ground, you might be able to turn one here. They weren't able to do that. It's a ground ball, not able to turn, but you still get the outs. There's 2 outs, runners on second and third, with 2 outs, and you trust Kris Bubic in that situation. I think if that was a situation where Noah Cameron's in the game, you probably pull him. If Michael Lorenzen's in the game, you pull him. Bubic has shown enough over the course of the season. He can handle that spot. Like, I was fine with that. I know people wanted to complain, but they always want to find a reason to, and the team's been winning recently, so they haven't had much to. And so they thought they left him in a batter too long. Maybe, but I trust Bubic to get out of that situation. Brian Hayes burns him with a ground ball single. And it wasn't a great pitch. It was a sweeper that kind of stayed up middle. It was about thigh high middle. Not a great pitch. And 2-run score, and it's a tie game. It's just that fast. So it kind of unraveled on him. Regardless, still, he gives you 5 2/3, only the 3 runs given up. 6 strikeouts, 2 walks. I mean, we're talking about a start where I don't think he pitched that well, and it still gets you into the 6, only gives up 3. Like, that's a fairly good outing for most starting pitchers. Even a guy that's probably more like a 2 or a 3 like Bubic is, that's a really good start, and that's a good place to be. If that's your bad start, your ceiling and your floor are pretty darn high. And he now ends the first half. He's going to be able to go, and he should be able to pitch in the All-Star game on full rest, which is awesome, and I hope that he gets that opportunity. Full first half stats for him: 108 2/3 innings, 113 strikeouts, and a whip around 1-1. a 2.48 ERA and 18 starts. And about everything you could have asked from Kris Bubic and more. An incredibly impressive first half, and I want to see how he continues to add to it in the second half. If he wears down some, maybe we see them skip some of his starts, or if he's just able to keep rolling. If he's able to keep rolling, it could get really fun, with what Kris Bubic could be for this team this year and possibly beyond. The offensive side, as I mentioned, four runs scored, and they're all on home runs. Salvador Perez gets it going there in the second inning with a big-time home run off of Bailey Falter. Salvy's just on one of those heaters right now, like where he's just hitting the ball out of the ballpark, and he's done this throughout his career where he goes through these dry spells from the power, and you're like, man, is it, his age caught up to him? Is this where it kind of, the other shoe kind of drops with Salvador Perez? And then he goes on the stretch where he's hit like 6 home runs in his last 10 games. The guy just continues to find a way to beat Father Time in these various ways. It's unbelievable. We'll get to the second home run, which, and kind of beyond this. Jac Caglianone came up in the 5th inning after a Michael double, and Bailey Falter threw him a first pitch fastball right down the middle. And Jack hit the ball 466 feet to dead center over the 3rd-tiered wall. I know you all have seen the clip. It's still unbelievable. I probably watched it 15 or 20 times today because you just don't see balls go out there at Kauffman Stadium. And the team record for longest home run is 474, Brandon Moss in 2017. Jack's going to beat that. That wasn't even a 100% swing. And he didn't. If he pulls that, it's probably like 480. I would guess. A pretty just unbelievable swing and a confident swing, which is what we talked about with those 2 home runs in Texas. He's feeling himself a little bit with some of these power swings. I want to see him get a few more hits together and string some of those, but he's not hitting the ball on the ground as much, which is a good sign. He's pulling the ball with power in the air. That's a good sign that he's getting things figured out. And he had a great at-bat in his first plate appearance, where slider down and away, and he spits on it. Great take. Laz Diaz is terrible at his job. It's called strike. Okay, whatever. You move on from that. Takes the next pitch, so it's 0-2 when it really should be 1-1. Fastball away, takes that. Again, a great take, and Jac Caglianone gets punched out by Laz Diaz when it really should have been 2-1. I was not worried about that swing or those decisions. Those are the types of things that we wanted to see from Jack, that he could handle, taking some of these pitches and not being as swing happy. He's going to swing, and that's fine. I'm not generally concerned about it, but I wanted to see him grow from this and continue to grow as he has gotten more plate appearances in the big leagues. Those are 2 great takes. Those should not be called strikes. And in a league where he can head tap like next year, it's 2-1. Falter's got to come back in the zone. After giving up a homer, he doesn't want to walk a guy. And then maybe Jack can get an ace swing off there 2-1. I understand people are like, it's too close to take. That's cool in Little League when it's chalk line to chalk line and shoulders to below your knee. And it's like, look, man, we're here to swing. Like, that's fine. Like, you can have that too close to take approach there. In the big leagues, those aren't strikes, and you shouldn't be swinging at those. If it were the flip side and Jack chased that 0-0 slider down and away, ball and a half out, be like, man, he's not trying to get, that's a chase pitch. That's him trying to get you to bite, and you did. And now it's 0-1 just like that. It's just not a situation that I wanted to see him get himself into. And he did a great job of that and was not rewarded for it. It's fine. Then he takes his frustration out on a ball that the only other person I've seen hit a ball that far is like Mike Jacobs in 2009. I remember hit a ball about that far up to that part of dead center field. It's probably the last time I've seen a ball hit up there. I mean, it's rarefied air where he's hitting that ball. So and just an unbelievable swing. You're seeing the talent. You're seeing the ceiling. It's just a matter of him continuing to put it all together. But when he's hitting the ball over the fence like that, it provides a lot of value for this team. that has now seen a little bit of a power resurgence where it was not existent at the beginning of the year. It's a little bit better now. Salvador Perez comes up late in this game. It's 3-3. Shout out to John Schreiber, Lucas Ursig. Great last part of the sixth for Schreiber. Full seventh. Lucas Ursig bounced back eighth. 3-3, going into that inning. Salvador Perez leading off. Doesn't waste a minute. Slider down from Isaac Mattson, and he hits it out to right center for a home run. Salvador Perez is now at 286 career home runs. He's going to flirt with 300 this year. When it looked like, man, I don't even know if he's going to get there. But he's got 286 now. He needs 14 in the second half. And that's assuming he doesn't hit one in the Mets series. Say he does. Say he hits 2. He needs 12 in the second half of the season. And when the weather is hot like this, the ball flies a little bit in Kauffman Stadium, there's a chance that he's going to be able to get there. And I'm not saying that makes him a Hall of Fame lock. I know some people believe that is the case, that there's only been a handful of catchers ever that have done that have 1,000 hits, 1,000 ribbies, or near 1,000 ribbies and 300 homers. Like I get it. But at least makes the conversation a little more interesting from a counting stat perspective. I'm not going to go out there and I'm not fully willing to say that Salvador Perez is, but it makes the conversation a lot more interesting when you get to that benchmark as a primary catcher, still a primary catcher in your mid-30s. It's a pretty unbelievable mark what he has continued to do, and just beating Father Time and making everybody that were like, all right, hey, maybe the Royals don't pick up his option next year and let him walk off into the sunset or go play somewhere else for 1 year, get that 300th home run and retire. Right? It makes the conversation a lot more that he just continues to find ways to be productive, when this team really needs it. And when he and Vinny and Bobby are going like they are right now, all together for really the first time all season, we see what the offense can be. And it's not stellar every night, but 4 runs with this pitching staff are going to win you a lot of games. So we'll see what this team is going to be able to do. The Mets coming into town, and the Mets are one of the best teams in baseball. The Royals are 20-33 against teams above 500. So this is a massive test. This is gut check time going into the All-Star break. And I know that sounds crazy with 70 some odd games left, but you're 2 under now. You're 3 back for a wild card spot with 2 weeks until the trade deadline. Massive decisions to be made. If you lose a series or you get swept, it makes the conversation a little easier. Like, okay, hey, we're going to sell. You win the series or you at least are competitive, it's going to make that conversation a lot more interesting. It's going to be Kodai Senga back off the injured list against Michael Wacha on Friday night, 7:10 first pitch, 3:10 first pitch. On Saturday, Michael Lorenzen versus Frankie Montas. And then on Sunday, it's going to be Noah Cameron and likely, from a report I read, a piggyback Clay Holmes, Sean Manaea start somewhere in there. Like it'll be Manaea for 2 and then Holmes for 4 or 3 and 3, 4 and 4, however they want to do it. But that is likely the scenario for Sunday, 1:10 first pitch there. What is this team made of? Are they going to be able to shake off some of these outings against poor teams or against really good teams and find a way to battle and show we can hang with the best in the league and we deserve to compete for the playoffs, and let's see what JJ can do to make this team better. It'll make that conversation a lot more clear going into the All-Star break. Jared Perkins is in the waiting room now, so we're going to go ahead and throw to a break, and then he's going to be on to discuss the MLB draft right after this.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
I'm BJ Kissel, founder and CEO of KC Sports Network. Emprise Bank has been with us from the beginning. They were our first network partner, and they believed in the vision of what we were building from the start. I can't speak to any other banks or companies and how they operate, but I can tell you from personal experience and based on the growth of the network you're listening to right now, that if you have banking needs, call our friends at Emprise Bank. We've worked with so many great people there over the years, from Vicky and Aggie to Andrea, Lori, Jackie, Deb, and Aaron, and not to mention so many others that not just supported KC Sports Network, but supported our KCSN Foundation as well. But the best thing that I know is that if I have a question or a problem, no matter how dumb the question is, I know who I'm going to call and who I'm going to talk to, and I know that I'm getting an answer from someone that I can trust, and I know that person is there to help us. That's why Emprise Bank has always been and continues to be our partner in possible. and they can be yours too. You just have to reach out. If you have a banking need, whether it's business or personal, hit me up. I will connect you directly with the same people that have helped us build KCSN. And that's our friends at Emprise Bank.
Folks, there's nothing that beats relaxing on a hot summer day and watching some baseball. And there's no simpler way to get in on the action than by downloading the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. And the best part, Pick 6 is available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on the fun. Don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6, and right now, new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Here's what you got to do. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Bonus picks expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Everybody hanging out here on YouTube now or later, and then be sure you're subscribing to all the audio platforms as well. Thank you very much. And now joining me on the show live here, Jared Perkins on the Clock Podcast, Just Baseball Media, covering college baseball and the MLB draft. One of my favorite people in this space. Thank you so much for hopping on. Friend of the show. Glad you're back.
Yeah, Joel, thanks for having me on. Excited. The draft's right around the corner. Ready to go. Ready to see what the Royals do here.
Yeah, it's a little bit different this year just because they're not drafting in the top 5 or 10 like they have been since like 2017, 2018. So I have not paid near as close attention because it's easier to get into it when you know you're going to get one of the top guys in the draft, with one of those picks. When you're picking 23, it's a lot more of a crapshoot because teams have played slot games ahead of you, over or under. It's hard to know who's actually going to be there. So that's why I'm kind of relying on you here with your ball knowledge to help me learn who the Royals might take on Sunday in the first round of the MLB draft. And I know that they changed it this year. Mm-hmm. It was 3 days. It was rounds 1 and 2, and then 3 through 10, 11 through 20. But now it's just rounds 1 and 2, and then 3 through 20 on Mondays.
1 through 3, I think, and then 4 through
3 on Sunday, and then 4 through 20. That's going to be a wild day.
It's like 11 a.m. start.
I hope the coffee is ready to go at Kauffman Stadium for those scouts and JJ and all them to make that decision. I mean, that's going to be a wild day.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. I mean, I don't know how they're going to do it because they're starting at 11:30, I think, Eastern on Monday for that 4 through 20. They're going to have to fly through those picks.
Oh, yeah. And you're kind of throwing darts after about round 8. So at that point, let's just see what happens here. All right. So, and because you are with Just Baseball Media, I'm going to go and use their mock draft 3.0 as just a jumping off point. And then we can talk about any other guys that you think might be in consideration here. We'll do picks 23 and 28 because the Royals have 2 of these picks pretty close together. Just Baseball's mock 3.0 that came out pretty recently has the Royals taking Josh Hammond, a prep third baseman. They have him listed as a right-handed pitcher as well from Wesleyan Christian Academy. And for those that care or want to know what the slot value is, it's about $3.8 million for the 23rd pick. And then with the 28th pick, they have the Royals taking Ethan Conrad, a Wake Forest outfielder, with the slot around 3.2 for those. What can you tell me and our listeners about those 2 guys if those are the picks for Kansas City?
Yeah, so Josh Hammond's a guy that's kind of been rumored that the Royals love him, but I think almost every team in this draft loves Josh Hammond. He's a guy that's kind of skyrocketed up draft boards. He came into the preseason, basically, into the summer circuit and everything as a right-handed pitcher, and he was up to 96 on the mound. Really wanted to play every day. dedicated himself to being a position player, and all of a sudden made himself one of the top prep bets in the entire MLB draft class. So like this kid is super athletic, super talented. He's the son of current High Point head coach, Joey Hammond. So he's got a lot of like what you expect from a coach's kid, right? Like 80 grade mentality, and then the physicality and athleticism. Yeah. And he's got the physicality and the athleticism that just kind of match that 80 grade mentality. So he's a guy that I think for the Royals at 23, they might have to overslot him. He comes in at 25 on our ranks, but I believe since every team is going to be really in on this kid, probably from like 15 to 25, they might have to overslot someone like this. But this is a guy I'd be super excited
as well. Could there be any signability concerns from the college perspective?
Man, he's going to get so much money that I don't think he would go to Wake at this point. I think he's a guy that will definitely be a first rounder and get drafted.
Okay. What can you tell me about Ethan Conrad out of Wake Forest?
So Ethan Conrad's a guy I love. This is a good kid. He did enter the transfer portal, and so he's no longer at Wake Forest, but I think that's more of a draft play. He's going to be a first rounder as well. He got off to a torrid start for Wake Forest and then hit the injured list for the rest of the season. So that's where his draft stock tanked. I think we had him like top 15 before the injury and thought for sure like he was going to play himself into maybe a potential top 10 pick. He was slashing like 389, 467, 704. It was leading the nation in triples before he went down. It's the hit tools elite. It's a beautiful left-handed swing. If you've ever watched any video of this kid, it's just absolutely incredible. If this is a guy that falls in the Royals' lap at like 23 or 28, you're going to be very happy especially for a team that hasn't had an outfield prospect really pan out, and the outfield at the major league level has been awful.
Yeah.
This is a kid who could advance quickly too because of the hit tool through the minor leagues. So it's somebody that's probably right now in our top 30. Yeah, he's top 30 on our list, coming at 28. He's just a kid that is very, very talented. I think a lot of teams, again, are going to be on him. Like the Twins are probably going to be on him, Guardians, Orioles maybe with their big draft pool that they got now. But if he can fall to the Royals, man, I'd be excited if he became a Kansas City Royal.
So forgive my ignorance, but when you talk about an outfield, is he a corner outfield exclusively, or is there a chance he could play center field?
Yeah, I mean, it's an advanced offensive it's advanced offensive profile. And defensively, I believe he's probably going to stick more in the corner.
That's fine.
But he's got the speed, too, that could potentially stick in center field as well. He's just very, very, very good at the outfield as well.
Is this the type of bat, and you don't always want to do this because it's, development is not linear, but is this the type of dude that you could fast track and we could be talking about him in Kansas City like early 27?
Yeah.
That type of scenario?
I would say so. I think what's going to hold him back is that he missed most of this year. And so there's some team, because he's coming back from that injury, they're probably going to slow play him a little bit when they get into the minor league system. But he just handles everything offensively so well. And you're just like, this is a kid who could be a fast mover through the system.
Who are some other names that either you've seen on mock drafts or names that you think will be around that 23 and 28 range as well? The name that I've heard linked a lot and seen a lot is Cruz Schoolcraft, prep lefty. A name that was kind of high at the beginning of the year, but is kind of around the 20s. Committed to Tennessee. I read some stuff that there might be some signability concerns. What could you talk about him and maybe some others?
Yeah, so I think the Royals are in an interesting position, right? You have the Orioles who have their 7 picks now and like $19 million total to spend. The Royals still have 12.8 in this draft, so they're just outside the top 10 at 11. Because of the Bobby Witt pick, they have $7 million just in those first 2 picks as well. So they could really pull somebody down to that 23 spot that maybe is in the mid, like the 15 to 20 range, and overslot them and then save some money, or even go at slot at 28. So they have room to kind of manipulate this draft a bit. You talked about Cruz Schoolcraft. I think there's like that league-wide sentiment that the Royals love the high upside high school arms because of Brian Bridges, because they took David Shields, and the kind of after Jac Cags, the run of arms that they made basically in that draft. But I think they're going to take an approach where you're going to see a lot of teams too in this draft go prep heavy as well because of the portal. A lot of freshmen are getting to campus and aren't getting a ton of playing time when they go to college these days. And so I think because of the weak college class in this draft, you'll see a lot of prep guys get popped. So I think Crew Schoolcraft could be a guy that they're interested in. Another one I would look at is Cameron Appenzeller, who's another left-handed pitcher out of Illinois. This kid's got some similarities to David Shields in some sense as well. But he's a 6'5", 185-pound lefty. So he's tall. But it's like 88 to 92. He's kind of gotten up to 93 and 94 in shorter stints. It's projectable. It's a really smooth delivery. I mean, if you're thinking like David Shields 2.0, just a lot taller and maybe more could project more velocity, like Cam Appenzeller is a guy I would look here as well. Outside of the prep lefties, the name I keep hearing a lot, being tied to the Royals and both the Orioles as well, is Jace Laviolette.
Okay, so that was a name I wanted to get to because he was projected coming into the season. I remember seeing some of this stuff that like a top 5 pick, and he had a bad year. He got hurt. He was striking out a lot. Hit like 250 in the SEC, and if you're hitting 250 in the SEC as a top level prospect, that doesn't grade out super well. Yeah. But the ceiling and the potential of what that guy could be, I mean, is still, I think, sky high. There's legitimate power there from what I've seen and some of the video I've watched. I do think there is some like intangible quality considering he busted up his wrist, I think it was, and just kept playing and tried to get A&M into the College World Series. I don't think they made it out of regionals, but commendable, I think, is the way to describe that for, just the baseball character of him. I mean, if he's there at 23, I think you run to the podium, right?
Yeah. The issue I think the Royals are going to run into is the Orioles love guys who can bludgeon the baseball and get on base and have some athleticism in the outfield. And I think they're going to be very interested.
That's like their archetype.
Yeah. I think they're going to be very interested in 19.
And white guys with hair down to here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, this is a guy who's hit 68 home runs in his collegiate career, and he has 70 grade power. He took a step back, and I was talking about this actually on the Just Baseball pod earlier today when we were going through the mock. He's a guy just who I think struggled because of the draft pressure, and also Texas A&M was not a fun clubhouse to be in, I assume, this year. They were a preseason ranked number 1 team. They went through all kinds of adversity all season long. All the guys were pressing because they were losing baseball games. So they were just trying to do too much. Yeah. And I think part of it, those struggles could be attested to that. And I look at a guy like Mike Sirota, who's with the Dodgers system now. He was a top 10 pick preseason, and he dropped to like 35, 38 for us. The Reds took him, and now he's just raking in the minors. It was a guy who just had that draft pressure, couldn't kind of get through it, and now pressure's gone, and he's absolutely tearing the cover off the ball. So Laviolette could be a guy like that. Again, hit tool concerns are there. It might be a 40 grade hit tool at best. But if you're banking on power and the potential to easily stick in a corner outfield spot, like he moves well for his size, like he's got a significant arm strength. I mean, this is a guy the Royals would probably be happy at 23, and we saw that they liked the big power tools when they took Cags last year.
The one thing that I've noticed, I noticed it in this last draft, I noticed it in the draft before, even if that wasn't a Brian Bridges draft, the Royals, instead of taking like the safest floor guy that they possibly, there's like, we're just going to bank on elite tools. We're going to draft a freak. And like you draft Blake Mitchell, who's got crazy power, a crazy arm, and, an ability to be like a high-end catcher in the big leagues with 25, 30 homer type power. They're just going to take that guy, even if there's some risk. You're going to draft a Jac Caglianone because 80 grade tools don't come around very often. And that guy's going to play in the big leagues for a long time for that reason. That could be the reason why you take a Laviolette, because you just bet on the tools and you bet on the athlete.
Yeah.
Another name, I'm just kind of flying. I'm looking through the mock and just some names that I've seen, and not necessarily names that I've seen connected to the Royals, but just names that are in that range. And the guy that our buddy Alex Duvall liked and mentioned, like if the Royals walk away with this guy, it'll be, be thrilled. It'll be Devin Taylor from Indiana. An outfielder from Indiana, or as a freshman, /357, 449, 660, and is like built on that. The contact rates are solid. Looks like solid fielder. Not a super speedy guy, but just consistent. That may kind of be the antithesis of what I just talked about, like more of a safe floor type. But considering the outfield prospects that are currently sitting in the Royals organization, like the best one is Osbel Gonzalez, and he's 19 in low A. Like there's a long way for him to go before we even think about him in the big leagues. This could be a guy that could move pretty quickly and be in your lineup in a couple of years and be just a consistent piece at like the middle to the bottom of the order.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about A to grade makeup. This is another guy that has that as well. The one thing that impressed me when I saw him in some of my live looks when Indiana came and played Maryland is that it was an awful weather day, like pouring rain, wind, and he just was not doing anything at the plate. But he was trying to make things happen. Like he was bunting for base hits. He was trying to bunt runners over. When he got on base, he was stealing bags. Like he knew. Like we even interviewed him after this and I asked him about that. He's like, yeah, mentally, I just couldn't get anything done. So I was trying to do anything I could to help my team win that game. So like, he's got that kind of mentality where like, even when he's struggling, he's still finding ways to try to help his team win a baseball game. And so like you talked about, like the power is legit. He's done some, he's made some improvements this year on his pitch recognition and his ability to make contact as well. And so like, this is a really good guy. Like, I think at 28, if he's there, you're kind of like, yeah, like him or Ethan Conrad, like you're definitely taking a guy like Devin Taylor as well. But I also think the Orioles like the guy like Devin Taylor also.
Yeah, well, of course they would. Yeah. The Orioles are just going to like every dude that the Royals might like, or every dude we can just work for the Orioles scouting department because every dude we talked about, the Orioles.
Every team is worried about the Orioles in this draft right now.
That's totally fair. One more name, and it was a guy that I didn't know anything about until someone mentioned him last week. I think it was like I did a Friday morning show, and someone was asking about the draft. And they mentioned a guy named Jack Bauer, lefty out of Illinois, touched 102. I mean, kind of like almost like a Noah Schultz type clone.
Yeah.
Could that be a guy you take a swing on at 28? Or early in that, because again, you just kind of bet on the elite tool.
Yeah, I mean, this is like he was a guy that was like 90 to 95 last summer, and then now all of a sudden he's up to 102, and you're just kind of like you're like looking at him last summer, you're like, oh yeah, that's fine, like 90 to 95 is good, like yeah, for sure, maybe top 150 guy. Now he's a top 50 guy in the draft. He's got good secondaries really to kind of go with it. I don't think he's going to make it to Virginia and go to campus. Like I feel like he's going to get drafted high enough now. It's a guy who just lives in the strike zone. Like it's a positive arm. Like, but I don't know if you're going to take him at 28 unless you're planning to potentially underslot.
Yeah. Which I mean, if you overslot, if you overslot 23, then you can underslot there. Like so maybe I should, before we get out of here, I do want to mention for people maybe that are new and are following the MLB draft and listening to the show for the first time. Every team has a pool of money for their first 10 picks that they have to spend. Every pick has a value to it. So that's why when we said the slot for 23 is $3.8 million, pick for 28 is 3.2. The Royals could draft a guy, say they draft, who was the guy at 20? Hammond. Say they take him and he's like, hey, I might go to Wake Forest. Like, all right, well, hey, we'll give you $4 million. So he takes $4 million of that 12 point whatever that the Royals have. Then now the Royals have $8 million for the next 9 picks in the first round, or in that part of the draft for rounds 2 through 10.
Yeah,
and you can kind of pick and choose and go. So when you talk about teams underslotting, that commonly, at least to the casual fan, I've noticed is like the team is just being cheap and just taking a guy, but it's not always that way. You kind of take under to take. To move money around to get someone away from college. It's what they did with Frank Mazzucato. Now that pick has not worked out at all, but by underslotting Frank Mazzucato, you were able to get Ben Cooter and Carter Jensen away from LSU and take them in the first couple of rounds, give them some extra money, an extra $1 million or so that they might not have gotten if they got drafted where they maybe were projected to go. So that's the way that this thing works. It is not like the NFL draft or the NBA draft where you're drafting best player available all time. If you're in the top 6 and Jac Caglianone falls to you, yes, you take the best player available. It doesn't always work that way, especially when you're working in the back half of the first round like the Royals are this year. So you may see some slot games from them to try and move some money around and get some really good players. Now, 11 through 20, you can move money around however you want, spend
Yeah.
whatever you want. So that's where it gets interesting. That's where they took Kyle DeGroat, who was a prep righty out of Indiana.
Yeah,
Or
14th, I think.
Illinois.
Yeah.
And they gave him it's like $100,000 slot roughly for 11 through 20. And they gave him way over that because they wanted him there. So,
Yeah.
and he ended up signing. So you're going to see a lot of different numbers thrown around. You're going to see, oh, hey, maybe they underslotted this. That means they're going to move money back to take someone in round 2 or 3 to get someone either away from college or a high school kid. Like, hey, don't go to college because we'll give you $3 million. Like,
Yeah.
all that sort of thing is the way this is all going to work. Before we get out of here, any other names maybe to watch for maybe either later in the draft or just your kind of favorite guys that may be a fit, and then who's going number 1? Is it going to be that lefty from LSU?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'll start with number 1. I think the Nationals are going to have a choice between Cade Anderson and Ethan Holiday on their mind. They're either going to go with a high upside talent in Holiday, or they're going to go with a safe floor, like Cade Anderson's probably the only player in this draft who can be really, really actually a quick riser to the minor leagues and debut in 2026. So that's going to be their choice. And then whatever they do is really going to impact the rest of the draft.
Whoever the Angels are going to take is going to debut in 2026.
Yeah. So if the Nationals take Ethan Holiday, the Angels are taking Cade Anderson. Because they want the quick guy. In terms of other names to watch for the Royals, the other rumor I've kind of heard floating around is that they're interested in one of the college premium arms. So look at guys like Riley Quick from Alabama, Gage Wood from Arkansas. I don't think they'll be able to pull a guy like Tyler Bremer down from UCSB. I think he's going to go too high, and that won't meet their slot. But also like Zach Root from Arkansas, Patrick Forbes from Louisville. Those are some names I would just definitely keep my eye on for the Royals. Because they've been linked to potentially wanting a college premium arm, especially if a guy like Jace doesn't fall there. Also would think about guys like Sean Gamble, prep high school outfielder. If they're going to go prep, that's probably, and then they want to stick with the outfield, Sean Gamble might be an option there. Then later in the draft, I mean, second round gets a little bit tough. Guys, especially if they overspend on the first 2 picks, look for college bats that are a little bit safer, might be a little bit cheaper. Like Luke Hill out of Ole Miss is a third baseman that they could be interested in. Henry Godbout is a second baseman out of Virginia. He's in the portal, might have a little bit more leverage, might cost you a little bit more because he has an option to go back to campus. So just some of those names I would just keep an eye on. Kane Kepley out of North Carolina could be interesting. Yeah.
One name that I love and would fall between 23 and 28, at least in the mock that the Royals, that they have on Just Baseball. And I know that they have a lot of catching prospects. I'd run to the podium for Caden Bodine out of Coastal. That guy is so good defensively. And I know it's hit over power and it's kind of not your typical catching prospect. But when you're that good defensively, I'm like, man, just come here, please.
Yeah. My question with him, though, is he's so good at pitch framing. If the ABS system gets implemented, what's his value?
So I guess it depends on if it's going to be true ABS or a challenge. If it's a challenge system, he's still got a ton of value.
He's still got a ton of value. But if it's
if they go true ABS, then it doesn't matter. Then guys like that are going to be kind of obsolete. But he is so good at presenting and framing and doing all of those things that even if in a challenge system, that's going to steal so many strikes for your pitcher. I loved watching that dude. I love watching that Coastal team. A little bit of college baseball I did watch this year.
I was going to mention one more guy to take a look at. This is Devin Taylor's teammate, Corbin Dickerson out of Indiana. This kid is an absolute stud. And the reason he kind of gets overlooked is because he struggled until this year, but he had a exit velo up to 117 this year. Can play center field, super toolsy, great route running. And a ton of power. There's some hit tool concerns there, but he's really started to iron it out and just ate up fastballs this year. And again, 80 grade makeup, incredible kid, works his ass off. This is a guy that if the Royals were looking at somebody in the second round, I don't know if he'll make it to their pick, but man, that'd be a great guy to get.
I like it. All right, before I get you out of here, I want you to make the pick, not at 28, but if you're in the draft room, who are you hammering the table for at 23 for the Royals to take?
Josh Hammond. That's the guy that I would really want.
You want Josh Hammond to be the guy?
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at
I like it.
upside there. I don't think he's going to make it to that's the problem. But he's a guy like if he's there, man, I would love to see that kind of makeup, that kind of kid in the Royals system to just be able to develop and kind of flourish.
Love it. All right, well, be sure to check out the draft on Sunday evening. We'll be live around the time. Maybe the Royals will be picking around the time that we're live. So perhaps we'll talk about it then after recapping the Mets series. So be sure to come through and hang out then and see that. Jared, thank you very much. Go and plug all of your stuff for your podcast and everything you're doing so people can follow you, through the draft.
Yeah, go check us out on the clock on X, YouTube, all those things. Day one live stream will be on Just Baseball, so it'll be Aram, Peter, Jack, all those guys doing that. Then Tyler and I will be doing day 2 live stream on the clock. So be sure to check that out. Tyler's going to have an updated top 315 rankings all through the all through the first 10 rounds of the MLB draft. We're going to have one more mock draft 4.0 on the day of draft. So plenty of content coming.
Awesome. Thank you very much for hopping through. Toast game to Jac Caglianone for hitting the ball to the freaking moon on Wednesday. That was awesome. Holiday Distillery coming through, as always, for me on these live shows. So we will talk on Sunday. Appreciate everybody that hung out here on YouTube. If you watch this, thank you to those that watch it later and just our audio only. We can't thank you enough for all the support on all platforms this season. And we'll talk soon. Take care, everybody.